Welcome back. Today we are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating and honestly a pretty chaotic chapter in recent history.
Yeah, chaotic is the right word.
We're talking about the explosion of the THC vape cartridge market. We've gone through a stack of sources that cover its journey from, the early 2010s right up through that huge public health crisis in 2019. And this isn't just about legalization. It's really a story of how a revolutionary technology just completely changed how people consume something.
And how that change happened so fast, I mean, unbelievably fast, that it just completely outpaced any kind of safety or regulation.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this because the story of how convenience can lead to a crisis is, well, it's pretty wild.
It is. And for you listening, what we want to lay out is the full picture. It's not just the tech. It's the very specific economic forces that created this massive and ultimately deadly underground market.
Right.
We're going to show you exactly where things went wrong.
So let's start at the very beginning. The core innovation, the thing that made it all happen, was just one word: stealth.
Totally.
In the early 2010s, THC carts were an absolute game changer. Our sources all say the same thing. For the first time ever, you could get high almost anywhere.
And you really can't overstate what a huge shift that was. Before carts, using cannabis was, well, it was a whole process.
Oh, yeah. You needed gear, a lighter, papers, all of it.
And the smell, you couldn't hide the smell. The whole thing was public. Carts made it instant, silent, smokeless, and pretty much odorless. It was just a radical leap in convenience.
And what's so interesting is that the tech wasn't even new. Not really. It was a fusion.
Exactly. A fusion.
Innovators in California, just these, tech-savvy entrepreneurs, they took standard e-cigarette technology.
Which was already booming for nicotine.
And they just figured out how to make it work for cannabis oil.
That adaptation was the key. They got the heating coil and the wicking system to work with this really thick, viscous THC oil. And that's what led to the hardware we all recognize.
That slim 510 thread battery, the little pre-filled carts.
The universal standard.
So you go from needing a whole kit to something that just slips into your pocket. It delivered this potent, low-odor high that was perfect for everyone. Medical patients, sure, but also kids, people at concerts.
Anyone who needed stealth. For a consumer, it was like going from a dial-up modem to high-speed internet overnight. It's just better.
And the market data shows it. By 2018, carts were everywhere. They weren't a novelty anymore. They were the new normal.
They even became what some reports called an Instagram flex, a status symbol.
Right. A sign you were part of this modern, techie way to consume.
Yeah.
So stealth drove the demand. Tech made it possible. But, of course, where there's a hot new product, the money follows. And that's where this huge, dangerous split in the market begins.
And that split, that price gap, is probably the single most important factor in this whole story. It's the engine that drove the entire crisis.
Okay, so let's break down the numbers. If you're in California, a legal state, you walk into a dispensary to buy a 1-gram cart. What does that cost you?
After all the taxes, excise tax, sales tax, you're looking at somewhere between $40 and $60.
40 to 60. Now, what about the street price for what looks like the exact same product?
$20 to $30. Or, a deal like 2 for $40.
Wow. So that's a 50, maybe 65% discount?
It's a massive discount.
Yeah.
And that creates an incentive that is almost impossible to resist, especially for younger people or anyone on a budget. It just pushed millions of consumers toward these unlicensed sources of basically mystery oil.
Right. Even if you kind of knew something was off, that price is hard to say no to.
Caution goes out the window for a lot of people.
So wait, if the legal brands like Kingpen or Stasi were seeing this, if they knew they were losing all this business, why didn't they just lower their prices to compete?
They couldn't, and that's the heart of the problem. The legal guys have enormous overhead.
Testing fees, regulations.
Security, high taxes, paying their employees properly. The illegal market has none of that. Zero. They pay no tax, they do no testing. So the legal businesses were trapped.
They literally could not compete on price.
Not without breaking the law themselves. The government, by setting the taxes so high, basically guaranteed a huge profit margin for the criminals.
And this boom didn't just change the market, it changed the culture, right? The sources talk about a cart-only generation.
Absolutely. The whole idea of connoisseurship it vanished for a lot of people. They stopped caring about strain names like Blueberry OG.
And started asking for flavor.
Exactly. Hyper-specific artificial flavors, Skittles, cereal milk. I mean, we saw one called blueberry-flavored pancakes. It was all about the taste and the potency, not the plant.
And the dealers, they adapted just as fast. The sources call it the trap supply chain.
The standard offer from a dealer went from, you need flour, to I got carts. That was the default.
Because it was just an easier
There's
business.
an assembly line. You didn't need to grow anything. The whole underground economy was fueled by these bulk shipments of empty cartridges and counterfeit boxes.
Coming from where?
A lot of it from China through sites like Alibaba, shipped right to hubs in the U.S., like LA's Vape District.
So this made it scarily easy for anyone to get in the game.
Frighteningly easy. If you had an apartment, a hot plate, and access to bulk THC distillate, you could be in business.
You just fill the carts, seal the fake boxes, and you're good to go.
You're instantly part of this massive, coast-to-coast, illegal economy. It was like counterfeiting handbags, except, the product could actually kill you.
And this is where it gets really dark, the counterfeit explosion.
Yeah.
Because the illegal sellers didn't even have to build their own brands. They just copied the successful legal ones.
They knocked off the biggest names out there, Kingpin, Rove, Stasi. It gave their fake products instant credibility on the street.
But then there were the other brands, the ones that were only fake.
Right, the ghost brands.
Brands like Dank Vapes or Mario Karts.
With the crazy, flashy packaging. Using cartoon characters, candy logos, all of it trademark infringement, of course.
So they were using this slick marketing to sell a dangerous product.
They were weaponizing the packaging. They made it look premium to mask what was inside, which was often diluted oil, or worse, oil full of pesticides.
All to sell a premium product at half the price. It was a perfect trap for a consumer who was just looking for a deal.
An irresistible trap. And that combination, the low price and the appearance of safety, led directly to the summer of 2019.
The breaking point, the EVALI crisis.
EVALI, which stands for e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury.
And what did that look like?
It was sudden. People, mostly young adults, started flooding into emergency rooms with severe, unexplained respiratory failure.
It happened so fast. So what did the investigators find? What was the smoking gun?
Well, the CDC and others jumped on it, and the conclusion was pretty stark. Over 80% of the EVALI cases were linked directly to illicit THC carts.
Not nicotine vapes.
No, specifically black market THC vapes. And they pinpointed the exact additive causing the damage, vitamin E acetate.
Vitamin E acetate. Now that sounds harmless. Isn't that in like lotion and food?
It is. And that's the whole problem. It's perfectly safe to eat or put on your skin. But the black market sellers were using it for a different reason.
Why? What did it do for them?
It's a thickener. It's cheap. It's odorless. And when you add it to really thin diluted THC oil, it makes the oil look thick and golden. It makes it look like a high-quality premium product.
Ah, so it was purely cosmetic.
Yeah.
To fool the buyer.
Exactly. But here's the deadly part. When you heat vitamin E acetate to the temperature inside a vaporizer and inhale it, it doesn't just turn into a harmless vapor.
What happened?
It breaks down and creates these toxic compounds that coat the inside of your lungs. It literally sticks to the lung tissue, blocking oxygen exchange. It suffocates you from the inside out.
That's terrifying.
It's horrifying. And it shows, in the most brutal way possible, how quickly a lack of regulation can turn convenience into a life-threatening danger.
So you have this journey from Instagram flex to people in the ICU. It happened in just a couple of years. After the crisis hit, what was the fallout?
The immediate response was regulatory. States rushed to ban vitamin E acetate and other harmful additives.
They beefed up testing, I assume.
Oh, yeah. And the legal brands, they had to go into damage control. They invested millions in authentication measures.
Like the little QR codes you see now.
Exactly. QR codes, special holographic seals, serial numbers, anything to prove to a scared consumer that their product was legitimate and safe.
But the black market didn't just go away, did it? The price gap was still there.
Not at all. The illicit market is incredibly adaptive. I mean, sure, a lot of people just quit carts completely. They were too scared. But the underground sellers just rebranded.
And found new loopholes.
They did. They started exploiting gray areas in the law, especially around hemp-derived products like Delta-8 THC, to keep their business going. The profit was just too big to give up.
So if we summarize the whole era from, say, 2016 to 2022, what's the big picture?
The big picture is that the vape cartridge fundamentally changed cannabis. It made it discreet, portable, and tech-driven. It completely reshaped the culture around it.
And the core lesson here seems to be about how fast things can go wrong.
That's it. Exactly. It's a lesson in how consumer demand for convenience, when you combine it with a market structure that basically pays criminals through a massive price gap.
Yeah.
Well, it shows how that can completely overwhelm any attempt at public safety.
That journey from this cool, stealthy tech to a full-blown health crisis and then this sort of relentless adaptation from the black market. It really is a textbook case.
It is. And it brings us back to that core challenge. All the sources end with this advice. Know your source, vape responsibly, which, okay, that's good advice for an individual.
Sure.
But it raises a much bigger and I think more provocative question for you to think about. When you have a legal market that is set up in a way that creates a 60% price gap, a gap that practically guarantees a thriving black market, how effective can things like QR codes and additive bans really be in the long run?
Right, is that really solving the root of the problem?
That's exactly. Is consumer safety really being protected? Or is that underlying economic incentive just guaranteeing that this crisis will find a new way to happen all over again?
A fascinating and definitely a sobering deep dive. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back soon with our next analysis.